Welcome to Start Your Dungeons. I'm Adam,
I'm Bryce.
and this is part three of our series on the D&D starter sets. Now we're talking about the most recent entry into the Forgotten Realms starter boxes, Dragons of Stormwreck Isle, and so first we'll go over what's in the box. So you get something very similar to what's in the original starter box. So you get an adventure, but it's smaller.
It's only 48 pages compared to 64.
Yep. You get a rule book for players levels 1 through 3.
Smaller than normal.
Smaller than normal. You get 5 pre-gen characters. You get 6 game dice. So unlike that Essentials kit, you get fewer
Back to
dice.
6 again.
And it's actually the exact same dice that came
They
in
love that blue, basic, dark, a little deep blue with some white on it. It's
those
simple.
they the first time I saw those dice was in the 4th edition starter sets.
I believe
They had the same ones. I think one of the 4th edition sets had black dice, but I think when you got the packet of D&D dice, they were the blue ones. And that's it. So
one thing I want to note, if y'all have not noticed it yet by looking at this box and looking at the characters, this is a homage to the Dungeons and Dragons animated show.
yeah, but so it's full of artwork of the characters from the old 80s cartoon.
Right.
Unfortunately, those are not the pre-generated characters that you get in that adventure.
Yeah.
I wish it was. I want to be Bobby.
It's
Bobby
weird.
the Barbarian. Why can I be?
It's weird because they do that thing where in this one they give you a ranged fighter, and the melee fighter is the paladin, which is a different kind of feel, and just kind of different from anything else that they've kind of done. But I wanted to bring that up because if y'all haven't noticed, they have art in the book and everything that kind of talk about it.
Yeah. So as far as the quality, of the material,
I mean, it's the same as the Lion of Mine of Fandelvers. You get the 6 dice kind of thing. You get the same. You get less in this one, but also it is very simple. I would argue that again, it's the same thing with that beautiful watercolor art that they have, the same glossy kind of paper. That's kind of it, though.
More Mike Schley maps, which if you've never been to his website to look at his maps and buy them, like I constantly buy Mike Schley maps, print on cardstock.
He's poor.
I am poor, but those maps are amazing.
Right.
They're clearly read. They're colorful. Their layout's nice.
In terms of value outside the box too for it, you get some dice. I mean, we'll go more into this, as we move on. I think the characters are kind of okay, but level 3 is very small.
It's small.
You're really not getting very high level in this. Talk about how easy it is to get into the game for a player. Again, they've kind of went back to the Lost Mine of Fandelver style. Yeah. The front is the level 1 character, kind of explains all your abilities, your powers. Flip it over, it shows you what happens when you level up, your abilities you get. Again, they have that 32-page rule book that they kind of give you to learn the game. I still like it. I think it still does a good job of teaching you the game and kind of helping you learn. It is a little bit weird though, because if you look at this box set, there are more spellcasters than normal, which is different. And I think as somebody who personally is not always a huge fan of 5e spellcasting, it's one of my actually least favorite parts. I don't like to play a lot of magic-based characters in this game. It is different, and it's a little bit weird. A paladin is such a weird choice to me. It's an extra healer, but you also have to figure out how to divine smite. When to use it. It's cool, but it is very different from a player aspect, and whereas also and you look, the Essentials kit had the Bard, which I think is a little bit maybe tougher because it's very supporty. I feel like the Paladin fills such a weird role that it is kind of a weird character if you pick it up to kind of try.
Yeah, it was a strange addition.
Right. This adventure is short.
Yeah.
It's Not very long. It is very quick. I think from a DM side, you actually don't have to remember a whole lot.
Yeah.
It is not very long. It is kind of the same to the other ones. Read the rule book, kind of get into it, but like there's not a whole lot to read in the book. I feel like you really could like pre-prepare pretty quickly for this one, or even buy this, go home and play it. That
Yeah.
is kind of the ease of it. Which brings us to our next point of like times to play the game. Can you do this in one night? Absolutely. I don't think this adventure actually goes past 4 hours unless your
Yeah.
players are going slow. It
Which,
is
yeah, which brings us to a point, maybe a distinction that you had made before we started filming. The way this is arranged,
I don't want to call this a starter set. I want to call it a quick start.
yeah,
I think this is a very interesting box, and I may be coming off as very negative about this box, and we try not to in most cases, but this is a very interesting $20 box.
yeah,
It is very much like you see a quick start for a lot of things. It is very interesting how it is so fast paced. There's not a lot you can do, I think, on the island where it
hmm,
happens. And in terms of like where a lot of the other ones take multiple sessions to do, I think you go in and do this one. Now, I don't think that's a bad thing if you're
hmm,
looking to quickly play a game and be like, all right, we've done a game. How do we feel about it? What do we want to do? But it is so different from a lot of the, well, at least from the other two that were
hmm.
available. What do you think?
I agree. I think it's very similar to the X marks the spot quick start adventure that was released a few years ago. It was a tie-in to the Ixalan Magic the Gathering
Right,
set. So you have an island. Weird things are going on, and you're kind of hopping around the island trying to deal with the fact that you're stuck there. Very similar in the adventures pathway,
right.
and also in the length too.
Yeah,
Even though that quick start adventure was only one level, I feel like you're getting just about the same amount of time for this one,
right.
because the encounters that are in this adventure, they're small.
Yeah. And we're already kind of moving in, so we'll talk about, is it a good adventure to get into the system? It's so quick that I don't know if you really get into a whole lot. There,
Yeah.
most of this is combat. I
Yeah.
feel is very heavy on
There's
combat.
not much story.
In terms of a storyline, yeah, like you show up. I don't think they actually do a very good job of showing why you're really coming to this island. You're kind of
Hmm.
like, I'm on a boat and I'm there. Your characters have reasons for coming there, but they're on the
Hmm.
player sheets, which is weird enough, and not
Yeah.
really. A lot of the adventure is like you go somewhere, and if these people are playing the game, you get this information,
Hmm.
which I think is weird and actually like kind of cuts out opportunities. Does that add more replayability? I don't actually think so. It's
Right.
weird. And like I don't know. It's such a weird adventure that it's like it gets you in, it gets you out very quick, but I don't know if it really does a whole lot to really show you what fifth edition is capable of.
Yeah. I mean, as far as just the overall quality of the adventure and the scope, it's too small.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, when we had before this was released, 8 years of the Lost Mine of Fandelver
Or the Essentials kit.
or the Essentials kit, and we had this pretty large. I mean, it was a campaign,
Yeah.
and when you consider that in the early days of the play testing for fifth edition, the survey results came back and said most campaigns only last up to level 5.
Right.
And when you hear that, you think about, okay, well, Lost Mine of Fandelver and the Essentials kit, those are typical campaigns.
Right.
This one's smaller than a
Yeah.
typical campaign, and it costs you the same amount of money as Fandelver.
And I think the weird thing about this one too is you jump levels really quick. You basically
Yeah.
there are I only call it three sections really. There's
Hmm.
you show up, you go to the waterlogged area, you go to the ship. Those are two. You can do them in different orders, which I think is weird because really you want to do them in the order they tell you to. It
Hmm.
literally says like if you go this way and you're not in your level 2, do it this way instead.
Hmm.
which I think is a little weird, kind of the way they've done that. And then you do one final thing where you fight with the dragons. It's yeah, I don't love how quickly it goes. I feel
Right.
like it's weird that for a starter set, I don't get to really breathe into a character. Like I'm throwing this character in, they're going in, they're getting to level 3 and they're done.
Yeah. So is this box a complete game?
Absolutely not. I actually, we talked about can you play this game indefinitely? I would play this once and never play it again. Like in terms
Yeah.
of like if you have a group, there's no real reason to play it over. There's
Mhm.
not a lot of random extra things. If you're
Right.
playing with a smaller group, maybe because depending on what characters you have, you get some options
Mhm.
for what you learn. But this really doesn't have a whole lot. This really, out of all of the boxes, wants you to go buy more afterwards. It
Yeah.
is a tease of the game that you
Yeah.
need to buy the player's handbook, the monster manual, more things to play. I mean, this really like level 3 is nothing. You could start
Right.
most other adventures and jump your characters in and go
Yeah.
ahead. Like this doesn't really give you enough outside of the box.
Yeah. And I think more than anything, that's what supports your idea of it being more of a quick start, because a
Right.
quick start is your tease to get
Yep.
you to go and buy it. You're at the if you participate in free RPG day every year, which you should support your local game
Absolutely.
stores. But you get that teaser, and then it's there for you to go back next week and
Right.
see if they have that product so that you can
Absolutely.
continue. I feel like the other boxes are there to play and play and play. This was like, well, maybe we can get them to go back in a store and get the player's handbook.
I think it
Because
is $20 is overpriced.
I do
It
too.
is very much like a, and I don't know how much it costs them to make all this, but it
Yeah,
does feel like for $20 I'm getting less value than the other
yeah,
ones out of it. Which is weird and just definitely different. Um, Going to kind of our final stuff we're talking about, who's this box set for? I think it is only for new players. I don't see any value in this for like a player who is learning, who is like a more experienced DM or
hmm,
experienced player. It just doesn't have a whole lot to it. I don't really understand where you're supposed to go from this to kind of thing. Like it is this quick start s kind of feel to it. Get a bunch of new players, teach them, easy to DM, easy to play in, and then that's kind of it.
hmm.
It doesn't really have. I don't know. Do you see any real value in it for like seasoned players?
For me, I think the only value in it is as a completionist collector. Um,
Yeah.
I mean, I happily bought it the day it was released
Right.
because I love starter boxes. Um, am I going to run it a lot? No.
When you have the other
When
two.
I have the other two, if I've got a new group of players, I'm going for Lost Mine of Fandelver. I mean, that's
Yeah.
it's so solid, and I'm going to supplement with the essentials kit.
Right.
I'm going to forget that this is on my shelf.
Right. And then in terms of would you keep playing based on this box? I say it's hard because
Yeah.
in real actuality, what do you don't play a whole lot. You
No.
are getting very little out of this box to where it's such a small taste that it may not pull you in. Now,
Right.
if that small taste does, that's great for the
Yeah.
small adventure they had, but I do think that it is so small of a taste of what 5e offers that like it's either going to pull you in or what I think is going to happen is you're going to be like, "Oh, that was fun," but like
Do you have any other games?
yeah, like was it or it seems very quick
Yeah.
to get to 3 level like it doesn't feel like how true 5th edition plays.
Yeah. Okay. So, final thoughts on the comparison between the three boxes. Um, I feel like they really got it right with these two.
Absolutely.
If you have the original starter box, the Lost Man of Fandelver adventure, and the Essentials kit, you have so much value and you don't really need a lot else. The newer Dragons of Stormwreck Isle, it's okay. But really just comparing the two, these are what I prefer.
Yeah, I think I kind of have to agree with Adam on this one. You know, personally, I feel like these two are your money worth ones. I think if you had to look at them and only pick one, it would probably be this one.
Yeah.
Just kind of like a pick one and that's it. But, you know, overall, I definitely think you may have some value out of this as a new player, but I do think it is the one that's most readily available now. So, you know, it is kind of your only option in some cases. The essential kit a little more available, the starter one, Fendelver not as much. So if you can find this and you're interested in trying it out, you know, it's not great, but it is something you can easily find and play. But I would recommend that you spend a little more time, you know, and maybe even invest a little more money in picking up one of the other two.
Yeah. And, you know, combined, you know, like if you can find them both, $45, that's lower than buying a player's handbook.
Yeah,
You
it's
know?
really it is cheaper, you know, than getting it from most other places. I mean, you get a lot of variety. It offers you a bunch of playing time and, you know, adventures. I think you really get your money's worth with these, and you really offer the opportunity to play for a longer period of time and get more value out of it. Whereas with this one, this is a one and done. Probably you're not really
Yeah.
going back to it as much with a party unless they're brand spanking new.
Yeah. I can't wait to see their next starter box.
I am intrigued as well. You know, it seems like we were going high and then we kind of faltered a little. So I'm hoping that maybe this got a reaction enough to where they may have
Yeah.
faltered. People said that, and maybe they're willing to go back and try something new. So we'll see. But overall, you know, like as we said, this was our first kind of video of like checking out ones, and we thought, what better example than look at these 5e starters.
Yeah. Well, thanks everybody, and we'll see you in the next video.
Have a great one, guys.
Bye.